Hello everyone and welcome back to the Blast Action Studios baking vlog. This is episode 2 where we will be cooking some white chocolate macadamia nut cookies. One of my personal favorites because I like white chocolate. We got this recipe from allrecipes.com and we'll have a link in the description if you'd like to follow along or try this out for yourself. Well, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start by mixing the wet ingredients together. So we have the KitchenAid mixer here, and we're going to be using the same flex edge beater that we were in the last episode. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on here, like so. And then we're going to start putting stuff in with the 1 cup of softened butter. We just set this out and let it come to room temperature. If I can get the wrapper off. And number 2. And then the 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, or white sugar, however you want to say it. And then 3/4 cup of brown sugar. Okay, so we pulled out our brown sugar to do this dessert, and we realized it is completely hard. So we are going to try a homemade technique to unharden it or soften it. We've got a piece of saran wrap folded over with the brown sugar in the middle, and we're going to try to use a rolling pin to see if we can't get it to be softer. Like so.
Not bad. Not great, but not bad.
Okay, so we're not sure if we're terribly impressed by the results of that first attempt, so we're going to try this method instead and see how it goes. Alright, so after about 25 seconds in the microwave with the brown sugar in a bowl and the water in a cup next to it, it actually worked really well. It's softening up pretty good, which means we should be ready to go and move on. Alright, and we're going to be beating this, so that's speed 4 on the mixer. We're beating it until it's light and fluffy. Alright, so the butter and sugars are done mixing. So now we need to add in large eggs, and we need to add them in 1 at a time per the recipe. So here's 1 large egg. And now 2 large eggs. Alright, and now we're going to add the vanilla.
And if you notice in the recipe, it calls for almond extract also, which we are not adding. We don't have any, so we are doubling the vanilla. Because can you ever have too much vanilla, really?
No. No, you can't. Might want to close that first. Okay, so we've got our wet ingredients mixed together here. Now we have our dry ingredients as well. We've mixed these together off camera. So we got the 2.5 cups of flour, teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to mix it with the wet ingredients now. And we're going to do this slowly. Because just like last time, this has a lot of flour in it. So if we do too much at once or spin it up too fast, it's going to make a bit of a mess. And by a bit, we mean a little more than a bit. So we're going to be careful about this. Definitely put the shield on, and here we go. They're a little bit popped out, just like that. Thankfully it was only a little bit, not a lot.
Hey!
What? Try chocolate, come on. Okay, so we got our wet and dry ingredients mixed together here. And now we need to add in our macadamia nuts and our white chocolate chips. And we are specifically going to do this by folding them in.
Are you wondering what folding in is? Bon Appetit has the answer for you. Folding is a way of mixing together 2 ingredients with different densities. By folding the lighter ingredient into the heavier one, rather than stirring or whisking, you're able to combine them without breaking too many air bubbles, preserving the lightness and structure of the mixture.
Alright. And I'm hopefully doing it sort of right. I don't know how much actual folding I'm doing, how thick this is. That looks good enough to me because my arm's tired. Alright, so our wet and dry ingredients are ready. Our macadamia nuts and white chocolate chips are in there. And so now we need to use our same little squeezy thing with the little ring to get this out of here and make little lumps on the baking sheet. And we may need multiple. We will likely need multiple baking sheets for these because this recipe makes a much larger batch than the previous one did. It's supposed to make about 48, which is awesome because that means more white chocolate. Yep, and there's the oven, preheated to 350 degrees and ready to go. Alright, so we've got all of the little dough balls spread out on our baking sheet ready to bake. Interesting tidbit for this episode. We're using white chocolate chips in these cookies, but we were wondering, since this is a question we've heard before, is white chocolate really chocolate?
But it turns out we're not even using white chocolate. We're using white baking chips, which don't have cocoa anything in them.
Yeah. White chocolate will sometimes have cocoa butter in it, which is derived from cocoa beans, so it could technically be considered chocolate. But these don't even have that, so these are definitely not real chocolate.
Nope.
So, yeah, we made 40 cookies out of this, and we are all ready to get these in the oven and start them baking. Alright, so our cookies are ready to put in the oven, and we have 2 baking sheets that we're going to put in for 10 minutes each. It might take a little longer because the cookies are a little larger than they are in the recipe, but we will see how it goes. Alright, so we have finished our white chocolate macadamia nut cookies. We ended up putting each baking sheet in for about 13 minutes instead of 10 since each of our cookies is a little bit larger. That's also why we only got 40 out of the recipe instead of 48. But they are cooled and ready, so it is time for us to see what they taste like. They're a lot softer than I was expecting.
They're soft. If you like super sweet, they're super sweet.
Mm-hmm. Which I definitely like super sweet.
I like the soft though.
Alright, so I think we're calling that a success. Alright, well thank you very much for joining us once again for the baking vlog, and we will see you next time.